And we're back with day 12. The goal is 2,300. And today we're playing the black pieces again after the Archangel disappointment yesterday. And we're facing d4 and we're again facing this Collie setup. But instead of b3, bishop b2, my opponent goes for f4, the Stonewall attack. And the Stonewall is somewhat of a popular opening for black, where you try to get a knight on e4 and play d5 and f5 to really cement this knight. But for white, I don't believe in having an advantage in Stonewall. I'm playing b6, bishop a6 to trade off the light square bishop because I have most of my pawns on light squares. And I will strike in the center with c5 at some point because it's like even in the first game, in the very first game of the road, I had a Queen's Gambit decline structure. This was like the d4 and knight d2 game. And there I mentioned you always wanted to go with c5 in these structures. And this is again, even though white has a pawn on f4, this is again a Queen's Gambit decline structure. So I really want to play with c5. So yeah, here's c5, here's c5, and maybe I should have kept the tension. Maybe keep the tension a bit more, but now I have a target, and I will go for what's called a minority attack. Like, obviously not now because the queen is guarding this square, but at some point b5, a5, b4, try to create a weak backwards pawn on c3 and attack this one. Meanwhile, white will go to try and do some sort of an attack on the king side, and I should probably never take on e5 because at this moment white can get a really lot of space with this e pawn, open f file, and much attacking chances on the king. Here with rook e8, I freed up the f8 square for the knight, and maybe you've heard the rhyme knight on f8 there is no mate. That's because the knight on f8 is such a good defensive piece because it guards h7 and it guards g6 and e6. So there's like the knight does a lot of duties here. So if white attacks, for example, in this setting, it will be difficult. But if white attacks on the, ouch, this arrow is not bad, is not good. If white attacks on this diagonal, the c4 f7 diagonal, the knight will just simply block on e6. It defends the h7 square. I can bring the knight to g6, and if he trades this knight on g6, I get double g pawns, which is also pretty good. So yeah, really good defensive setup for me. And now I start with my minority attack, b5, a5. And here's interesting moment. Here's interesting moment because now I took on e5, and my reasoning was, okay, if he takes with the f pawn, which is usually what you want to do, he drops the g5 pawn. And if he takes with the d pawn, I suddenly get a huge attacking diagonal here, and I have dark square bishop. I have a queen, which is quickly on this diagonal, and I can burst through on the king side, while this little knight on f8 is just stopping the queen and the rook. So yeah, that's pretty nice. So that's also why he took with the f pawn, and I first traded on c3, and now I pick up the g5 pawn, and I trade dark square bishops. Now I'm up a pawn, and the c3 pawn is pretty weak, and in exchange he has much more active pieces than me, and I now get a little bit tied up. This is not active enough, Now I can't move the knight because I got mated. And his idea is pretty simply knight h4 and win back his pawn. So my idea was to go unpin with, after h4, rook g8. So now I'm defending the square and the knight can move again. h5, a5, and the idea, if he hadn't done knight h4, would have been to place the knight on f5, where it attacks the rook, it guards g7, it guards h6. If I get the knight to f5, I'm pretty good. So knight h4, really good move by my opponent. And the engine now wants to go g5, which is actually, if you think about it, not stupid, because either the knight has to move and then I just get my knight to f5, or if he takes en passant, there's like nothing here. If he trades, I also get a rook trade in after he moves the queen, and I get a queen trade in. And this endgame is really good for me. But yeah, you need to think about g5, and I'm not really disappointed in myself that I didn't think about g5. And well, now my rooks are tied up. My knight is quite useless, so the only thing piece I can really like move is the queen, and the queen isn't really able to do much. So yeah, my idea was to bring the queen on this diagonal and offer a queen trade, because the queen is like really tying down my defenses. This was not a good idea. The engine wants me to lash out, but I was kind of nervous about lashing out because my king is like here in the center. So yeah, now we trade queens. Now my position becomes a bit better again. And here checks my e4 pawn. I attack the rook and the c3 pawn. And if he moves the rook, I can play e3, guarded by my knight. And now I can like even sack the f7 pawn maybe for not rook b8. I meant rook c8, obviously. I can like even do maybe potentially something like this. Okay, the engine says no. Yeah, maybe I thought about something like this. He takes, and now I get the c3 pawn in exchange. I bring the knight back and cleanly blunder the f7 pawn, and he proceeds to cleanly not take it, and even moves his rook away. And now I go for g5, because without the queens, I don't think I'm getting mated. And here I had kind of a shock moment, because I thought I blundered the game. Because if here I blundered the rook, and if I move the king, he wins a rook. And luckily, this is also what I saw beforehand, but I just quickly forgot about it. Here is that if he takes the rook, I can take on a7. This is what happens, and now I get my rook active. He trades, and I go back. And now I try to convert this endgame, and here the engine wants me to go something like this and get the knight to a better square, because the knight on f4 is really not that good. Here also maybe force the king back first, and I even win a piece here. F4, king h3 only move, and g4 wins a knight. I don't even lose a pawn for this. This is GG. But yeah, unfortunately, I proceed to blunder. And this is about what happens. Mm, I trade the rooks, he wins my pawns, and now we have one pawn with knights. Easy draw. You can't really play this. So yeah, kind of disappointed that I couldn't win this game. Mm, I think um, we had a nice version of this minority attack, creating a weakness here, and also defending well the attack on the king side. But the counterattack, unfortunately, I got too passive, and I got too passive. This is generally a problem. I get too passive, and then bad stuff happens if you get passive. So yeah, stay active, guys, in chess. Stay active in life, and see you tomorrow.